Philippines is the last country in the world to reopen schools for in-person classes since the World Health Organization declared a pandemic in March 2020. After almost 2 years of school closure due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the Philippines begins limited face-to-face classes in selected areas last Monday, November 15. A total of 100 public schools joined the pilot run, which will run for 2 months as approved by President Rodrigo Duterte. Meanwhile, 30 private schools will start limited in-person classes a week later on November 22. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my one-on-one interview with Miss Kate. Miss Kate Renil Mumar is an accountancy student at St. Mary's College of Tagum and has experiences with the online class. To find out her opinions about the reopening of face-to-face classes, stay tuned and continue watching. Miss Kate, good evening. How are you feeling today, Miss Kate? Yes, thank you also, Miss Kate. So, to start our interview, Miss Kate, here is my first question. As a student, what are your strategies in dealing with the difficulties that you experience during the online class? Yes, that's right, Miss Kate. So, right now that we are in online class, what are the things that you miss the most during the face-to-face classes? Mm. So, due to the challenges that you face during the online class, which do you prefer the most? Continuing online class or having the face-to-face classes on January 2022? Yes, you have the point there, Miss Kate. So, we're talking about the opening of face-to-face classes. Have you seen other schools' preparation regarding the face-to-face classes? Like, what are your thoughts about putting barriers in a student's chair?
a student who's suffering with asthma? And how can you be so sure that it will not trigger his or her condition in not having a presentable setting? That is why I can say that we are still not ready for the face-to-face classes that CHED is aiming for.
Wow, you have a wonderful opinion, Miss Kate. So, for the last question, as a student, what is your opinion about the opening of the face-to-face classes this coming January 2022?
In my own opinion, so education is one of the most highly affected aspects in COVID-19 crisis. Due to this sudden implementation of lockdowns, students are now engaged with online classes as part of the new normal. There is no doubt that all students are highly affected with the new class setup, especially those students who cannot afford gadgets and stable internet connection. Now that the government has distributed the vaccines against COVID 19 and considering that there are millions of Filipino people that are now being vaccinated, the government can now say that they are now ready with the limited face to face classes in all courses starting this January 2022. However, in my own opinion, I highly disagree with the decision of CHED about the implementation of face-to-face class because of many reasons. First, there is first is that we aren't sure that it will the face-to-face idea will be a great thing, especially if we are still in a pandemic. There is a tendency that it will only increase the numbers of infected persons because we cannot really make sure that the health protocols will be implemented outside the school buildings. Also, since we are still in a pandemic, considering that the prices of the food, the fare, the boarding house to those students who are residing far away from their schools and etc. are still high, it will only bring more problems to the parents of the students. In implementing the face-to-face classes in January 2022, health protocols in conducting face-to-face classes must be planned carefully following the national and international guidelines to ensure that students will be safe or least mitigate the effects of the COVID-19. After all, students' lives matter as education does to them. But for me, as an accountancy student, I cannot sacrifice my health to what we call proper education that we are aiming during the pandemic. After all, safety is the responsibility of the government to ensure its fulfillment.
Wow. Thank you so much for your time and for answering my questions, Miss Kate. Yes, education seems so hard to have right now because of the challenges we are facing, and either it is an online or face to face classes, we students need to participate and do our best to graduate. This is Judy May Anko saying that only when normal things are not normal anymore, that's the time we realize how special normal things are. Thank you once again and have a good day.